Welcome, T, to Champagne and Conversations, our brunch edition. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are
Yes,
you?
good. Cheers to you. Guys, we have
Cheers.
T from Straight Ahead, dancer, BBD, 90s vibes, all that good, amazing stuff joining us this afternoon. So we're going to call this part two of the Straight Ahead conversation. And of course, we had to have our mimosas, and this was
Yes, a
her
must
choice.
have.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Cheers.
cheers again to you on that.
Wait a minute, I gotta stick
Yes.
my pinky out.
Oh, that's right. And I actually wanted to pop our bottle, but I didn't want any kind of craziness going on while we were trying to get in here. So,
Oh, okay.
yes, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on Champagne and Conversations. Today we have T, and she's going to give us the tea on her version of On Tour with BBD and others in the time that they dance. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having this platform. It's an honor. Thank you
Oh,
very much.
yes, it's so fun. I love that people, I guess, prepare to talk to everyone because it gives me an opportunity to just dive deep into what I enjoy. Of course, a lot of us enjoy. We're celebrating the 90s and celebrating the good music and all the energy that was there and during that time.
Absolutely.
So the first thing I do have to say is that I noticed on the blogs that our beloved Bobby Brown announced that there is going to be a reunion tour next year.
Yep. Word on the street. Yep.
So,
I did hear that. Yeah, I heard about that. That's exciting. That's exciting for them. I love hearing about anytime the guys get back together, right? And go back,
absolutely
pull it back together and go back out on tour again. The fans love it. And
love it.
just, I feel like that's my family. So it touches me in my heart, to see them coming together and being as one. So, yeah,
Absolutely. Now, are you guys going?
I would
Dun,
love
dun, dun.
to.
Yes, yes.
But, that would be great, to, straight ahead could just come out and do some honorary, appearances. I would love that. Or, the good girls, to go and open up. That would be great too. So, I mean, if
We're gonna speak it all into existence
girl,
right
yeah,
now.
bring it all into
Yes.
it. So, that would be amazing if that would happen. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to work on that. Now, and of course, you all have a story about a reunion tour that you guys did years ago, and you prepared for it and just pretty much made your presence known that you wanted to be on it. So let's talk about that.
Oh, you're gonna jump right into it.
Ah! I told you I was leading in.
Okay, we ain't cut no corners here. All right, I don't need this. I'm just
I love what I do.
so yeah, you're talking about the New Edition reunion tour.
Yes.
That was like 96, 97
Uh-huh.
ish.
Uh-huh.
So at that time, we had straight ahead, had kind of taken a step back
Uh-huh.
from performing with BBD at that time. We were all, this was after the second Hootie Mac album. We all just kind of went, our separate ways. I went back to school. I think Nikita went back to school, and we were just kind of doing our own things there. Pluke started her own kind of her solo career, and I was helping managing her. So we were just kind of in our own little pockets at the time. And I remember I was in school. We went back to college, and I got the call from Straight Ahead, was on a group chat or, a conference call or whatever. Hey, New Edition is going back out, we want to go. I'm like, yeah, but I'm in school right now. I got a couple more semesters and I transition over here. And I remember Deborah said, girl, you can always go back to school, right? This is a chance of a lifetime. And I was like, yeah, she's kind of right. So we decided that we wanted to kind of demonstrate or prove to BBD that we still had it, and we didn't want them to go get any other dancers. We're your dancers. And so we decided to go into rehearsals, just the four of us, and just kind of, dust off the cobwebs and tighten up the moves and refresh the poison routine and add some new stuff in there and things like that. So we went into rehearsals. I think we were either rehearsing in Ploop's backyard or Nikita's carport, or it was somewhere, somebody's house.
Uh-huh.
We would get together and we just kind of started working on the routine and tightening it back up. Picked up the phone, called Brooke Payne, which is New Edition's choreographer. Shout out to Brooke. And was like, hey, Straight Ahead wants to go out with you guys on this reunion tour. So he was like, all right, meet up with me and Ron and Mike and the guys at the studio, and we want to show you, that we still got it. We want to show you. It was almost like we felt like we were kind of auditioning, but it was like we wanted to show them that we still got it.
Right.
So they met up with us and we did the routine, and they were like, oh my God, Brooke was like, you guys are even better than you were back in the day. It was,
How dope is
we
that?
felt that too. We was like, we were
Okay.
a little more mature, kind of settled into our moves, more precise, more focused. And, it came across in our performance. And so that's how we ended up securing our spot, if you will, the BBD segment on the New Edition reunion tour. It was great.
So, with that being said, now you're going to sharpen it again to be ready for this one. I think that is just amazing. We're going to speak it. That's all we're
Yeah,
going to
that's gonna take
Yeah.
a little more work.
Ah!
We're older now. It's like, all
No,
right.
no, no. You're seasoned now. Don't say old. I just would love to see it happen. And especially
Right,
that poison energy. So, yes, if you guys can get there and turn it up two more volumes from even
right.
what you did then, amazing. I think they would be amazed for sure. So,
I would love that. I would love it.
get to it. Get to it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, now, of course, preparing for an event like that or preparing for a tour like that from an endurance perspective, from a focus perspective, mentally, physically, what does that look like for you? Like, how are you getting ready for that?
Shoot, for me, first thing I'm gonna do is jump back in the gym, and tighten up the muscles and get the body, ready, prepared, because it's physically, a lot, to perform at that level, on a nightly basis, and then travel, on top of that. So it takes a toll on your body, and your body has to be prepared. So the first thing I'm doing is coming off the junk food and getting back on my healthy eating and taking care of my body. I'm in rehearsals, either by myself, just practicing my moves in the mirror and before I get with the girls, but then rehearsing with the girls and the guys. And the rehearsals are pretty intense. One of the things that Brooke Payne taught us was that you got to rehearse like you're performing. You can't slack off in rehearsal, right? You think you're not on stage. No, you're gonna, however you rehearse it in the studio is how you're gonna look on stage.
Okay.
So it's you're going hard in rehearsals as well, and so you're repeating the routine 100 times over, back to back to back to back,
Wow.
just conditioning your mind, your body, to be able to perform at that level. It's no
Wow.
joke. It's not as
No
easy as it
joke.
looks. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you find yourself at night still living that, like, does it take a moment to come down off of all of that from just the rehearsals and just
It does.
constantly trying to stay on that energy of we
Yeah.
got to be the greatest, we got to be the best. This has to be a
Yeah.
whole thing. Now, does it progressively get easier as you guys start to tour and each night you've done it, so then you feel a little less pressure, or does the pressure increase?
I don't know. Well, for me, it was by the time we get to the first show, you're ready. There you've worked out all your kinks, or you should have,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
you're strong, you're ready, your presence is there. And so it's not that it's hard the first show, minus the butterflies you might have, right?
Okay, you do have those. All right.
Physically, and you're conditioned,
Okay.
and your mental and your physical are all in sync, right? So
Mm.
you're already there and you're ready. You go into mode, that first show, and then from there, I think you will settle down a little bit with the nerves and the, all of that, and then you kind of settle into a pocket. But it's not like it gets easier. You're just settling in.
Settling in.
So yeah, and
I
then at
like that.
night, I think during rehearsals at night, you're recovering, right? So you're at home, you're in the tub, you're in the jacuzzi, you're taking care of your muscles, and then when you're out on tour, what happens is, for me, when we used to tour, I used to have to relax to try to come down off of the adrenaline rush, right? So when we were on stage, BBD was hype, the crowd was hype. We were feeding
Yeah.
off that energy, and that's what kept us, so hype on stage, because we're feeding off the energy of the crowd and this and that. And plus you're loving what you're doing and you're just on this adrenaline, overload.
Yes.
And especially when the crowd is like, they showing you a lot of love, they loud, they shouting your name and whatever, that gives you a rush, right? So at night after the shows, you would need to have a sip on something or something to just kind of help calm you down,
Yeah.
from the adrenaline rush of that night, and then go on off to sleep. So yeah, it's both.
Yeah, you guys were considered superstars during that time, just as
Ah,
great as the artists. You know,
uh-huh.
the energy from the dancers, the publicity from the dancers. You guys were known in your own right. It wasn't just backup dancers. You guys had your own identity. Now, how did that feel for you from big stage? Did you dream about being that way, or it just something that happened?
I never dreamed about that. I never dreamed about having that type of attention. I was always the shy one in the group,
Huh.
quiet, shy,
Okay.
reserved, you know. And so it was. I think I spoke about this in another interview we did. It was like when we got with Del Big DeVoe, I wasn't expecting it to blow up the way it did. First of all, because we all had been involved in little local type of dance
Yes.
gigs or whatnot, little local things. You get a little pocket change, you go buy a new shirt or new, whatever, and keep, then continue living your hip hop lifestyle, right? So
Okay.
that's what it was. So when we got with BBD, I was like, oh, we're gonna do a video, cool. I'll probably make a few $100, probably the most I've made, and that'll be it. So it was, I was surprised to see over time how big that single grew and how big the group became, and their album blew up and everything. And next thing you know, we're, like you said, we're being, looked at, as high, yeah, almost as high as, and I remember one of the first shows we did, we were in Boston. This is a true story. And I think it was one of the summer festivals or something. Belle Biv DeVoe was on there. I think Color Me Bad was on that show. Um, Return of the Mac. Who's the guy who sings Return of the Mac? That guy, he
Hmm.
was on that
Hmm.
show.
Hmm.
There was a few acts on that show. We were in Boston. And normally before every show, I would go out into the audience, you know, um, you know, before we would go on stage, I would just kind of wander around in the audience just to kind of get a feel for the energy and whatnot. So I'm doing this, I'm just wandering around, I'm looking. And these two little kids came up to me, two little white kids came up to me and was like, can we have your autograph? And I was like,
Oh.
I started looking around and I said, my autograph? This is the very first time I ever got asked for my autograph. And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I can take you backstage and have you make some real art, And they were like, no, you're one of BBD's dancers, aren't you? I said, yes. And like, can we have your autograph? I said, well, okay. And, I didn't know what I was signing or whatever. I think
Yeah.
I signed my government name or something. I don't know. But it was like that was my first experience in knowing that we're not just the background dancers, we're part of the show, and we have our own little fan base that are here to actually see us as the dancers. And then we
Yeah.
just continue to evolve from there. But that's I always remember that story of those two little kids asking me for my autograph for the first time. So yeah.
Yes. Now, speaking of little kids, when you were young, who did you idolize? Who were your influences? Were there any?
Absolutely. So when you say young, what age bracket are you talking? Because
It doesn't matter. I mean, of course, from a dance perspective, it would be like, Debbie Allen and those folks,
sure,
but for
right,
music, it just depends. So wherever
right,
you want to go with that.
right. So I was, when I get asked that question, I have to start from very young girl, like 6, 7, 8 years old. Um, just remembering being exposed to some of the the greats, the what we call the classic R&B. That was
Sure.
my first experience of music, right? Was the stylistics, the Dells, the Motown acts, the Supremes, all of the
Yeah.
Temptations.
Uh-huh.
Those were my first like introduction in my internalizing real R&B music.
Sure.
And then from there, going into like what we call junior high, but middle school, then it was like, oh, Cameo and the Gap Band and Zapp and Roger. And those are the ones that kind of got me, dancing and moving and things like that. I forget what the new dance was back then, but I would look at, the older kids doing it and I'd be like, oh, that's the shit right there, whatever. So it was like, then it was like going into, later middle school, Michael Jackson. I
Yes.
was a fan of the early Mac, Jackson 5 and young Michael Jackson, but then it was like when Bad came out, and it was Michael Jackson, it was Madonna, New Edition, those, the whole MTV,
Yeah.
experience. I was
Yes,
into
yes,
a
yes.
lot of different things. So like Wham and Culture, Culture Club, Duran Duran. I was into those,
All of it.
that type of genre as well. So
Yeah.
I was, it was kind of a mixture of things for me. So those were some of my early musical influences and
Hmm.
influences that got me wanting to dance, especially Michael Jackson. I would say that would be my number one. But I'm not
Absolutely.
alone. I'm not alone there. There's nothing unique about me there, but definitely Michael Jackson.
Isn't it amazing how iconic he is? I mean, just a legend in his own right, but he's still that same like, you know, cry and that same like that you
Mhm.
felt for him when you went and saw him
It never
live. If
went
in
away.
fact
Yep.
it's still here. I
It
still
never
watch
went away.
videos and I get this thing like, oh,
Yeah.
do you know how impactful you were to
Right.
so many?
Yeah.
He is just that,
Yeah.
for sure.
I never got a chance to see him in concert or meet him in person. I'm like, oh, that's why it's like, listen, young folks, cherish these artists while they live it.
Okay?
You know what I mean? And spend that money and go see them.
Yes.
And, things happen, and even before Prince died, I was lucky enough to go for the first time. The year before he died, I caught his concert. That man was in his 50s and he was still in his fur coat on top of his freaking piano hitting the
Yes.
splits. You know
Yes.
what I'm
Yes.
saying? In
Yes.
his 50s. I'm like, wow. So I
Yeah.
feel like I didn't miss anything because he was still on 100. That man was amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, we say that about Tina Turner. I mean, she's in her
uh-huh,
80s and she looks like,
right,
a day of 40
right.
something,
Yeah.
perhaps,
It's
and
like, what are
still
you
moving.
eating? Yeah.
Where's she in
So,
Switzerland? Yes, she's got that good air, good chill air.
right.
Uh, for
But I
sure.
remember the first time I think the very first hip hop song I heard that kind of grabbed me was Friends. Is that Houdini?
Yes.
Friends.
Hmm.
How many of us have them? And it was like a 4-minute song. It was like a really long song at that time. And
Uh-huh.
I used to bump that song all the time. And then it was like Slick Rick, and Dougie Fresh. Those were my
Oh
first,
yeah,
yeah, Lottie Dottie. I was
absolutely.
like, that's it. I think, those songs right there is were that's it. I'm a hip hop fan. And then, went into, other acts like MC Light and just, all the, I was mostly into the East Coast raps first,
Okay.
you
Is
know.
that where you grew up or were you always on
No,
the West?
actually, I grew up in California.
Okay.
So we had 1580 K Day, right? Back in the day, which was our only, lens or portal into hip hop, the hip
Okay.
hop music that was
Hmm.
coming out on the East. And we also they played West Coast stuff as well, but that's how I became exposed to
Okay. Okay.
East Coast rap was through
Hmm.
1580 K Day and the clubs, the club scene and so forth. But as a young girl, before I was old enough to go to clubs, it was K Day. That was it. So,
So now how did you prepare your routines? Because you were in the clubs, you were in Paradise and you were in Ultra and all those spots hanging out and dancing. So how were you preparing your
mhm.
dance?
That's a great question because um, and I would say in my senior year, I met this girl named Darian, and we just clicked instantly. We went to the same high school. We clicked instantly, and we were both into like the break-in scene, right? The break dance
Okay.
scene, and getting into b-boying and hip hop, and we just kind of grouped up as a dance group. We would rehearse in my living room. We move all the furniture out the way, and we use the sliding glass door as the reflection of our, as our mirror. And I used to call her all the time, like, yo, you got to come over. We need to rehearse. We need to rehearse. This was, during the week before we would hit the clubs. We would
Yeah.
put together our routines that we was going to bust, on the floor. We would rehearse that in one of our living rooms or one of our backyards, or, at the skating rink, or wherever we could.
Best place. Yes. 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 Yes.
That's how we prepare for battle, get in somebody's backyard and rehearse it. Um,
Yes.
so yeah.
Becoming a BBD dancer. Now you're on tour. How was that in terms of going from just preparing in the club to now you're preparing for big stage and you're having to deal with so many other outside conversations and so much more preparation? Did you feel like you were still dancing on just a free level, or now does it feel more like work?
Mhm. Oh no, it definitely leveled up.
Okay, no more free spirit.
No, no,
Okay.
no. And you know our story with Brooke Payne. Are you kidding me? So no, it definitely leveled up in the sense that one of the things we didn't realize just dancing in the clubs is just how, I don't want to say sloppy, but not tight. You're not as tight as you think you are.
Yeah.
and
And no one's making you be that way.
and you don't need to
Yeah,
be, because it's hip hop, it's freestyle, it's free
sure.
flowing, it's, do whatever. You're not, unless you're competing on stage in a dance
Uh-huh.
contest or something. When you're on the floor and you're battling either in a cipher or just, me and my friend Darian, we'd be dancing with these two guys, and our song would come on, and next thing we know, we 100 with it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is shit. And all of a sudden, and you're going crazy because you're in the moment and you're feeling the music, and that's hip hop, right?
Sure, sure.
Now when you want to talk about performing on a large stage, it's time to tighten some things up. And one of the things Brooke pointed out to us in a recording of a contest that we did is, he said, look at T, look at your feet. They're different than Nikita's and Deborah's. Look at your arms over there. They're not in the right place because they're
Oh,
over there
wow.
doing something else. And we never saw that. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, right.
Like,
He's like,
really? You
we're
picked that
thinking the
apart?
shit. Like, we just killed it. And he's like, no, y'all ain't the shit yet, right?
Oh, no.
So just, that's where you start to level up, and you have to pay attention to blending in and looking in unison, which we took a lot of pride in.
Yeah,
Now we're on the big stage. We need to tighten it up and look as one, move as one. And if you look at New Edition and how all their routines, that's exactly what you see.
oh man.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
man. Oh my
No,
gosh.
they look like, like just not robots because they groove in, but their arms are in the same place and everything. And that's what makes it visually pleasant and, enjoyable to people when they can see that all that hard work has gone into that type of thing. So yeah.
Yes, so dope. Now, I'm going to give you the open stage, clear up any conversations, any misinformation, anything that you want us to understand, redirect. So, since you've said that he was critiquing, I want you to critique that some of those things as well.
Well,
Why I pour more mimosa.
I would just maybe just talk about how Straight Ahead met and how we came to be.
Okay.
Um, and there's a story behind that. So we talked about um, how I hooked up with my girl Darian in high school. Now we graduate and we're going to the popular clubs. One of those being Hollywood Live at the time. They
Hmm.
were promoted by Rick and Jason Diamond Productions. Shout out to Rick and Jason. But so we're at Hollywood Live. We're some of the dance groups that we used to idolize were in the clubs, like the Soul Brothers. They were more of a free forming, just boogie type, just funky, dance group. Um, Another group called the Valley Boys. They had their own little niche, right? They used to dance in bowling shoes so they could slide around, but it was all hip hop. It was dope. Everybody had their own look and feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Group called Primetime out of Long Beach. So we would go in there and we would study, like sit there and study these guys dancing and try to emulate them and then add our own little flair on. And that's how we came, Darian and I came up with our style. So this is during this time, I didn't know Fluke, Deborah, or Nikita, but I would see them in the clubs. I would
Mm-hmm.
just see them around, we never stopped to introduce her, but we would always be this distant admiration, right? Like, oh yeah, I used to see Fluke and Deborah and they look so funky with the bobs. They used to cut their hair like this, like
Yeah,
salt and pepper, and
asymmetric.
they'd have the big, door knockers. And I'd be like, me and my girl, we was from the valley, so we weren't known that yet. We were just regular. And then they would
Uh-huh.
always come in looking dope and fly and killing it. And then I'd see Nikita, like, oh, there go that girl, and her sister, and they in there, so I would just see them around. So around this time, Diamond Productions were promoting um, a I'd say a dance battle thing that he wanted to have with the East Coast dancers versus the West Coast dancers.
Okay.
So they wanted 5 girls to represent the West Coast girls, and then 5 guys. So it was a team of 10 on each side.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to go and you had to audition if you wanted to be one of these West Coast dancers. So I show up to the audition. At this time, my girl Darian started having babies. So she was like doing her own thing. I had to show up to this audition by myself, right? I'd never danced by myself without her, but I wanted to be on this team. I wanted to keep going. I still had that itch in me, that hip hop, that, I love hip hop and dancing. So I showed up by myself. I was scared and everything. But at this audition, who do I see? Luke and Deborah. I see Nikita and her sister, amongst other people, they're battling. So we, the 4 of us plus one other girl, Kilo, got selected as the 5 girls to represent the West Coast team.
Nice. Okay.
That's how we met
Okay.
officially, so we'd seen each other, but then so then we would be in rehearsal with Rosie Perez and Diamond Productions would be there. We'd be rehearsing, trying to prepare for this battle. The battle never happened. I never understood what happened, but it just kind of fizzled off. It didn't happen for some strange reason. So now we've been rehearsing for several weeks, and at the same time, Diamond Productions is promoting an annual dance battle where groups could go, they could participate in the preliminaries. It's all crowd participation. If you win that night, then you get to move on to the finals. So this is like a 5-week series. And by the time the East versus West thing died, we were in the last week to be able to perform in the preliminaries before they go on to the finals. So long story short, we competed, we stayed together as a group, and we competed using the same dance routines that we kind of have put together that we didn't use, right? So we used it here. We were dressed in, our routine was to Cool Mo D's, I Go to Work.
Okay.
So we were dressed in these hard hats and these orange overalls, and that was our concept. And we were just out there killing it in these orange construction outfits. So we win. The 5 of us win that preliminary by crowd participation, right? So we get to move on to the finals. And so Kilo, which was our 5th member, she had a conflict because she was a member of another girls dance group that were participating or competing in the finals. So she had a conflict. She could go with us or she could go with her group. So she ended up going with her group. That's how it ended up just being the 4 of us. So this time we're in white construction outfits. Nikita's mom, Linda Stokes, she kind of fixed our outfits so we could rip them off.
Okay.
And underneath we had these, tight, colorful outfits on, and we performed as Straight Ahead. That was the first night we performed as Straight Ahead. Was in that finals right there.
Very
so
cool.
now we're competing against groups like GTI at the time, which went on to be the Far Side.
Yes.
Those were one of our competitors. I can't remember all the names of the acts on that, on that stage, but we went on second, and DTI got to go on last. Now, anytime you are competing in a dance contest, you never want to go on early. You never want to be one of the first ones because people forget about you. You know what I mean? It's like you want to go on last and put that stamp right on it. And
Yeah.
so we are so mad because we pulled, we went on, we had to go on second, and then GTI went on last. We were like, oh, but we competed, and we were one of the us and GTI were one of the finalists, and then they ended up winning by crowd participation. But anyway, that's another story.
What was the crowd like
We're
in the
still
club?
salty about that, huh?
What were the crowds like in the clubs?
What were the crowds like? What do you mean? Like,
So were they like really engaged? Were they, like your fans, like you always knew you would see a group of whatever always there to follow you guys. So to cheer you on, to hype you up, was that kind of the energy every week they expected for you all to be there, someone to be there?
well, I think they expected us to be there, and especially the promoters, because we never had to pay to get in the club. They're like, oh, Pete, come on. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you're coming in,
See,
because they
so you
knew.
guys were local celebrities from the
Right.
beginning.
I think
Uh-huh.
so.
Uh-huh.
They
Okay.
knew we was gonna keep that. We were part of what drew other crowds, and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
kept the club scene hype, because
Yeah.
we'd be out there just killing it, doing us, nothing intentional, but just living that lifestyle,
Sure.
just enjoying hip hop. So, but I think we were all fans of each other. You know what I mean?
Very
That's
cool.
how I feel. Like I admired all the dance groups because everyone brought something different, that I
Sure.
liked, that another group didn't have, or something like that. Even though we
Yeah.
would compete, right? We're very competitive. Like, no, you're not gonna kill me on this dance floor, but it was all respect and love and admiration. And I was a fan of all of the dance groups, and I'm pretty sure they were too. So
Very
yeah.
cool. What would you tell your young self from today? What would you tell your younger self?
Wow, that's a good question. What would I tell my younger self? Maybe just be confident, believe in yourself. Um, just get out there, you know what I mean? Which we did, but like I said, I was kind of shy and introverted at that time. I think if I had a little more confidence in myself, I could have went a different direction. Which everything, I don't have no regrets. Don't get me wrong. Everything happens as it should. But I would just tell my younger self that just be confident.
What direction would you have gone? What else do you see yourself doing that you didn't do?
Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But I just know that I was very laid back,
Okay. Okay.
and and there's nothing wrong with that. But I always admired people who could stand out, you know what I mean, and stand up and stand out, and just make a presence like that, just within themselves. I was able to do that because dance dance and hip hop was like my safe place. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That
Hmm.
was my safe place. So it's almost like that's why I think one of the reasons why I connected with Michael Jackson, because he was two different people, right? When you sit and talk to him as a person, he's kind of quiet and subdued and shy. But damn it, when he got on that stage,
Total
that was
performer.
it, shut it down. That was it. It's a
Right.
totally different
Right.
person. So I kind of did that thing. Like, I would go into use my dance and my hip hop as a way to just channel, things,
Yes.
and
Yes.
be at peace and just be free.
Yeah.
Right. So
Absolutely.
so I was able to do that within the group, and that's why I like being in a group, because you can surround yourself with people that balance you
Of
out,
likeness.
right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
you wouldn't have known that I was kind of quiet and shy unless you sat and you got to know us or talk to us, because as a group we're strong, you know what I mean, we
Sure.
bringing it as a group, and that's how it's come across.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I might have ended up. I just always wish that I had come out of my shyness sooner than I did. you can tell now I'm an open book. I could care less.
It
But back
it
then,
only
it was
took
not like that.
yeah, it only took this to actually do that. So now where was that pivotal moment for you? Where did the confidence stack?
mm, I would say, I would say after BBD.
Oh,
Uh,
after.
yes, yes,
Wow.
after
Okay. So
BBD.
all of that. And then, okay.
Shy,
Wow.
shy,
I was
shy.
waiting for one show, one
No,
signature,
no. I would
autograph.
say after BBD and after coming out of that experience, um, and just knowing that we had fans, you know what I mean, and that people were looking up to us, wanting to learn our routines, wanting to, you know, uh, there used to be these little girls that would come to our shows and want to perform for us in the lobby. They knew all our routines, and I was like, oh my God. So coming out of that experience, people asking us for autographs. I'm like, I think for me, coming out of the experience with BBD and going into working for other R&B acts, I started, coming out of my shell and being confident and things like that. Because when you make a name for yourself like that, and then you want to go work for other acts, they looking at you to be the shit, right? So you know what I mean? Like, so what am I going to do? Sit back and, so I
Right.
think that's when I started coming out and go, okay, this is where, this is, where my confidence is starting to build now within myself, and just venturing off and doing other things. It started evolving from there, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Luke and I had a conversation on part one of Straight Ahead's conversation about living in the moment. And I feel like now you're expressing that as well. And I don't know, it's that shadow of effect. It's kind of, I don't know if it's from upbringing or just not really, knowing, embracing what it is that you're doing, or the fact that that wasn't a dream of yours to be doing this. But
Mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm,
escape of like not being able to live in that moment and embrace it and understand who and what you guys were
mm-hmm,
evolving to be, and what you were sharing with the world, that
mm-hmm,
even though you were doing that, you still
mm-hmm.
stayed like
Isn't
in a
that funny?
bubble.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
something. And even now she says that she still
Mm-hmm,
has not really given herself permission to
yeah.
to live it, to
Right.
embrace it. So
Yeah.
that's interesting that you two
Yeah.
say
It's
you weren't
true.
even
It's
really
like I see
aware.
it like this. We were part of a movement, but we just didn't know it, because we were just being kids. We were just doing what we love to do. Little did we know hip hop was gonna evolve and blow up the way it
Yeah,
did,
yeah,
and morph into R&B and other genres, and live, continue to live on forever hip hop. You know what I mean? Um, Little did we know that that was going to happen. So I think to a certain extent, I was able to live in the moment, because I um, I enjoyed the fun parts of that lifestyle. Hanging out. Okay, we're on stage. We gotta prepare to go on stage. That's work, but it doesn't feel like work, right?
okay,
Because I enjoy it. And I know that this is what I love doing. I knew that at the time. But again, we were in a bubble, so we didn't know to the fullest extent how other people were looking,
receiving that.
and
Mm-hmm.
admiring as much as
Yeah,
we were. We didn't
yeah,
we didn't know. Um,
sure.
yeah. So,
Well,
um,
congratulations with being a part of history.
oh, it's
Being a
such an
part,
honor, right?
yeah, it should feel amazing
It
to be a
does.
part of history, to be a part of such the iconic groups. I mean, New Edition was one of, I mean, coming out of Michael Jackson, they probably were second in
Right,
line in terms of my like,
right.
oh my God. And
Yeah,
even now, because
boy,
y'all
they.
know I will
Uh-huh.
be with y'all when it comes around again. I will be right there. Don't worry. Um, but yeah, so what do you look at now in terms of the dancers? I mean, because they've taken on a different representation now, and not just from the moves and not just from the dancing, but
For the music.
you don't identify dancers like we did then. Okay,
Right,
they didn't have
right.
their own group. They're just
Yeah.
dancers for a certain artist.
Yeah.
What do you think about that now? The
Yeah.
dancers of today.
Yeah. I think when we were coming up, being in a dance group and identifying with that group and having your own thing that you're doing and know, like, it was not okay to copycat somebody. You know what I mean? Like that's just not what you do. So just being in a groups were a thing. Dance groups were a thing, and then fast forward to today's time, I don't think that's a thing anymore,
Yeah.
right? Like getting being in a dance group and being identified, as within that group. I don't know. I'm not on the young scene. Maybe I could be wrong, but I don't see where that's still a thing. It turned into more of a solo, right? A solo type movement. And you would move around and get gigs and perform for different artists as a solo. You know, um, I remember towards the end of our career, I would still go to some auditions and stuff, for different things. I was kind of fizzling off at that time, but I would go to auditions and they're picking individual, boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? And it didn't feel right to me because I'm like,
Where's
where's
my
the
group?
groups?
Yeah, where's
You
my
know what I
group?
mean?
Hmm.
During our time, it was so many dance groups that performed for these, iconic artists that were known for their style that,
Right.
paired it with that artist. And I don't, except for Janet Jackson's dancers, which I don't know if they consider themselves a group,
Right.
but
I don't know that we could even
right,
really pick them out of a crowd. I mean,
right,
maybe once or twice, but unless they say it on their bio,
exactly.
you
I
don't
say,
really
oh,
know.
Janet
You don't-
Jackson's dancers,
Yeah, you
versus
don't really
this is
know.
straight ahead, this is Scoob and Scrap, these are the Soul Brothers,
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Who
I
else
don't
did you
know what
work with?
happened. Um, let's see. After BBD, we took a break. Oh, we went back out on the reunion tour, and then after that, um, I believe Deborah was starting to get into choreography at that time.
Okay,
So she was working with a number of artists, and so she was always making sure that we had work. If she was doing the video or the show for that artist, she would, come on, straight ahead. You know what I mean? We
uh-huh,
gonna do
uh-huh.
this, whatever. So we worked for we went out on the No Way Out tour with Puffy at the time and all of his acts. Deborah and I went out on that tour, and while we were doing that, Nikita was doing her own thing, and she was doing like Will Smith video and other little things. But we did that, and then we also did a lot of No Limit acts, their videos, the No Limit record company with
Uh-huh.
with
Master P.
Master P, thank you.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
I can see his face. And what else did we do? Oh, we went out with SWV on a summer
Okay,
tour. That was the best.
okay,
We had a great time. It was me, Deborah, and Nikita on that tour,
okay,
along with another girl named Chiquita. And because Pluke was having surgery on her knee at that time. So it was just the three of us with another girl. We went on that. We went out with Boys to Men. I don't think we talk about that a lot. Boys to Men had a
oh
second
my gosh.
album.
You know,
Yeah.
this is my Boys to Men season because it's holiday time. So
Oh
Boys
yeah,
to
right.
Men is like,
Oh, for sure, for sure. Hands
okay, so
down.
yes, let's talk about that now that you
Yeah,
brought that up.
yeah.
How was that
Oh
performance?
my God, that was amazing. So Brooke Payne was actually like doing as their choreographer and their stage, organizer and things like that at that time too. So he called straight ahead. It was me, Deborah, Nikita, who was having surgery on her knee. So he went and pulled Janella, one of Hammer's dancers, to fill in for Pluke. So it was four girls and it was four guys, and the four guys were more of Hammer's dancers. It was Goofy, Punchy, um,
Not
I think
goofy.
Eric, it was his name, and oh, what's the other little guy's name? He was one of Janet's dancers too. I can't think of his name, but it was four guys. So it was four girls, four guys, big stage production. And we went out on tour. I think shortly after we went out, they let the guys go because I think they just like the look of the girls behind them and not the
Okay,
guys. So
okay.
it ended up just being the four girls. And Boys to Men. I mean, I already was a fan, a super fan.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? So I got to watch
Yes.
them from the side of the stage every night. you know what I mean? And come
Hmm.
out when it was my turn to do my little dance. But I was just like in awe at them and their perfectionists and their, their musician, style and their singing and everything, and just watching how they put all their vocals together, and sound on stage was an experience for me. It was amazing.
An
Um,
experience. Now, do
yeah.
you think that working with that level of group, BBD, Boys to Men, SWV, kept you guys at the top of your game as well, just because you knew that they were there? So did that push you guys to be or excel to that level as well?
I think so. Anytime
Hmm.
you're staying busy
Yeah.
and you're working,
Iron sharpens iron. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
You gonna stay sharp. It's when you sit home and do nothing, it's like, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
absolutely that kept us at the top of our game, and um none of the acts we did after BBD took us through that, harsh of, it wasn't that hard for us,
Well, that's
physically
probably
to do
because
the
you guys are
routine.
already there, so you didn't
Yeah.
have to, you had already mastered that. So you
Well,
were like,
exactly. So it was like
yeah,
second nature, but I'm saying like that poison routine is unmatched in terms of its intensity and its level of energy that you have to bring to that routine. You see what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
anything we did after that was like, okay, what do you want me to, we could do it in our sleep. It was like we were already conditioned coming out of poison. So we tried to bring that type, because other acts they want that now, right?
Yeah.
They see that, they want that, and so we tried to bring that type of, obviously the straight ahead energy to whatever we did. But there was, the songs were different. You know what I'm saying? So we just tried to fit into the pocket of whatever song we were doing, and still bringing that energy and that stage presence that we brought to Poison as well. So I think we
So
did
was
great
there any other group that you wanted to work with that you didn't have the opportunity to during that time?
during that time. I actually wanted to work with Janet Jackson. I wanted to go out with Janet Jackson. I love the eclectic, you know, nature of all her dancers. How everybody was so different. Um, I liked her music, of course. I loved her. I was always a fan. I wanted to go out with Janet Jackson, and who else? Um, I think was Missy Elliott doing it back then too. I always liked
Absolutely.
her videos, and her music,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know. Um, and who else? And of course Michael Jackson. But that was just a fantasy. But in reality, I think it was Janet Jackson and Missy Elliott is who I wanted to hook up with. I never got a chance.
And guess what? They're still out as well. And you guys are warming up to come out. So
Yeah.
there may just be a reunion in the making. There may be a
Hey.
opportunity for you
Uh-huh.
to act upon that now, which
Oh,
is great, right?
I
It
would
just,
love to. Somebody
yeah,
call me. I'm quitting my job. I'm on my way.
I know that. I know that. And preparing for that for
Yes.
sure would
Yes.
be amazing, I guess, but a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Of course. It's gonna, yeah. Especially coming off and not doing a lot. You have to get back into it's muscle memory though. Anytime we get in and do anything, it's like, okay, work out the kinks, but then it's so weird. It's just, you just kick right, and people look at us and they can tell you are conditioned for this, it just,
Hmm.
it's muscle memory. I'll just put it like that.
Now, and I guess I should ask this in a different way, but I'm going to say I do know that there's some new things coming because normally I would say what's new for straight ahead, but we know that there's some new things coming. So in that, are we preparing uh, new routines, new dances, new ways to present who and what you guys are doing on this level in this day and time?
I would say all the above plus the old school stuff, because I think, what's missing from today is that fun, the fun, having fun, and giving that type of light energy, bringing it to the stage through your routines. It's so
Okay.
serious, and technical.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
We just, we groove, we like to have fun. And so we definitely gonna keep that old school feel in there, some of the old school dances, but mix it in with some new stuff as well. You have to, right? You have to keep up on it and things like that. So it'll be all the above the show.
Yes, we are excited to see that. And in case we didn't actually do a break in between, but ladies and gentlemen, we are sitting and having a brunch conversation with T from Straight Ahead. She has
Hey,
made her mimosa. We haven't given her opportunity to sip most of it because she's been sharing so much
I've been
information.
talking too much.
Yes, but you were here for that. That's what you said. I am here to share, and we have T here with us this afternoon. Such an honor to talk with you about the days and times of the energy, the dancing, the things that we enjoyed, and of course, I want you to share your social media. And then before we end the conversation, I want to give you this opportunity to share anything that I forgot to ask you because I don't want. I know you had a plan, so I want to make certain that you share what it is that we may have missed in terms of you guys and your journey.
Well, what I will share, I don't want to share too much, but what I will share is just stay tuned for some amazing,
Yeah,
amazing things happening.
amazing
um,
things
you
happening,
know,
and cheers to
it's
that.
going to be
Yes,
great. And not that, well, let me think. Social media, I'm T2 Nappy, TEE, the number two Nappy. I think that's what it is. It
yes,
might be
that's
the
it.
letter two.
Uh-huh. Yes,
And then on Facebook, it's Tawilla Lynn, Towilla Lynn. So
yes. Thank you so much for joining us today on
thank you for
Champagne and
having me.
Conversation.
I'm
Yes,
sorry if I talked your ear off. Did you get all your
no.
questions in?
I did get all of my questions
Okay,
in, but more so, I wanted to make sure that you got your expression out. So
yes,
that's the
I
part
did.
that we have to ask. Did you get it all out?
I got it all out. I feel better. I feel great. I feel lighter on my feet. Thank you so much.
Yes, they say that T is the spokesperson for the group, or at least let me say Ploop says that. I will not speak for the other two young ladies because I have not had an opportunity to speak with
Uh-huh.
Deborah and Nikita.
Oh,
Shout out to you guys. However,
yeah,
Blue
yes.
said that. So we wanted to give T the opportunity to share with us her, and more so the fact that she just wanted to share how you guys came together and,
Yes.
some conversations on just building. And now we're moving into the next phase, which I'm so happy that everyone is in good health, good spirits.
Right.
You guys still have full of life, full of energy. You look amazing. So we are
Thank
excited to
you.
see what is coming, what is coming,
Yes,
what is
and I am
coming.
not the spokesperson. Okay, we all are, and that's the beauty of the thing. When you speak to all of us, you're gonna get a different perspective.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
different. Everyone had their own individual experience and
yeah,
their memories and what they held on to as memories versus what they let go. So we're all spokespersons, of Straight Ahead in different ways. That's why you got to speak to us individually. I'm glad we didn't, Pook and I didn't do this together. I like the individual,
yeah.
interviews so you can get all of those unique stories from everyone. So yeah.
Yes, we love this. We love it. We love it. And we appreciate your time. We appreciate your energy. It's been such a vibe. And even preparing to have a conversation with you. Of course, we did some back conversations, guys, to get ready for it. But it's always an honor. It's always a pleasure to sit and take time to spend with you and all of the wonderful guests, obviously, that we've had to be able to talk about your time in the industry, your contribution to the music, to the culture, and being a part of history.
Such an
Congratulations
honor.
for that.
Such an honor.
That
Yes.
should feel
Thank you so
so
much.
amazing.
It does. It does.
Yes,
I always
yes.
tell people it's I feel good that we got our little pinky toe in the footprint of hip hop. It's
She's
just like
being
a
modest.
little
Yes,
piece,
the pinky
but
toe.
we're up there. So I really am feel honored and blessed to have had that experience and some of my greatest memories that I'll cherish for the rest of my life and carry with me all the time. So and just people who tap us on the shoulder like you and want to hear our story, it just makes me feel good and warms my heart. Like hell yeah, I'm coming to tell my story. Anybody who's asking, I'm telling my story.
Amen.
So
Yes,
thank you so much for having this platform for us.
you are so welcome. Happy holidays to you.
Thank
Stay
you.
with us. We'll take you out. Ladies and
All
gentlemen,
right.
this is T with Straight Ahead. Thank you.
Peace. Love you. Thank you so